Happy Friday, listeners. Episode 93 of the Offline Network is streaming live. And today, Utsav and I are chatting with Siddhant Agarwal, who's the founder of a company called SportVot, kind of like cricket shikit. But Siddhant, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to the Offline Network.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure being here.
Welcome to the show, Siddhant. So you already sold a company before this game week in 2016 to Nazara, and you wanted to become a sports founder again. What made you choose the same field again? Most
I,
people, Dhruv and I joke, don't choose the same industry again in their repeat ventures.
Once
I,
bitten, twice
I
shy.
did not sell it, to be honest. I don't think it was a successful stint.
Hmm.
Nazara was kind enough to buy certain licenses off, and it was just a friend of mine and me just building a game, basically. I wouldn't say it was a company. It was a good product, definitely a good product, which had traction, and Nazara, through its wide distribution network, managed to promote that very well in India and Africa. Most of our user base was from Africa, and we did not know anything about that sort of user persona profile, and we felt that I don't think we can do much beyond this. And it gained good traction in Nigeria and Kenya. These two were the markets that it did. So yeah, did not do much.
And what is your new company doing? SportVot.
Yeah, yeah, it does a lot of things, to be honest. Today we started as a talent discovery platform. Our intent to build SportVote was to be a talent identification system or a platform rather, for upcoming athletes. And from that, we felt that rather than capturing just pure numbers and numerical data on athletes, why don't we start capturing videos? And from a video capture lens, we started building this whole video creation suite, which turned into a live video production software, which turned into a whole end-to-end live streaming solution today. So today, upcoming leagues, athletes find SportVote as a mechanism to be able to tell or showcase their talent. Maybe not tell a story as such, but showcase their talent and their skills and their stats, and yeah. So that's what SportVote does. It serves as a massive visibility platform for the 99% of sports that generally do not have any platform to broadcast or stream their games.
And when that journey was unfurling, Siddhant, did you guys think of it as pivots or did you think of it as one continuous evolution where logical steps were sort of leading to each other?
I don't think we've had a large pivot yet. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing. But we always we kind of stuck to what we thought would be the larger premise, which is the premise of making games visible to people and for the players for themselves to be able to create some sort of an identity through stats, through videos. So largely we were sticking to that. Of course, we started at a very interesting, I would say, point. We started in 2019 of September, which sort of gave us just 6 months of running, right? And then in March 2020, we were staring at the pandemic. So those 2 years, I think we should have shut down. In hindsight, I don't think I would have had the same energy and appetite or enthusiasm to be able to continue and stick the we had a core group of 4 or 5 people that we wanted them to stick together, and they stuck around, and we were grateful that these people hung back and stayed with us. But those 2 years we actually made a slight pivot where we built the whole video capture solution. Earlier we were just focused on aggregating things and being this whole consumer facing platform where you can watch these local gully cricket tournaments or local kabaddi matches. But then in from 2020 to 2022, early part of 2022, when things started coming back, these 2 years we very well dedicated ourselves to building the whole video capturing stack, the whole data capturing stack, which sort of laid the foundation for SportVote in its current form. So I guess the best shaping of our product has happened in those 2 years, to be honest.
And what sport defines the platform right now? Or are you fully horizontal? Because there are other players like Crick Heroes, which is doing grassroots cricket scoring with 50 million users. There's FanCode, which is into premium license streaming. And then there's Stupa, which is doing table tennis analytics. So I believe there are niches that people have captured in different sports and sectors. So is there something that you're focusing on as a platform?
Uh, we not, I wouldn't say we are super horizontal. We also started off, our journey was, of course, cricket is so big in India that Crick Heroes as a platform should not or doesn't even need to think of other sports. But when we started, we also identified a couple of sports that were very important for us, and kabaddi was one of those. So I would say today, if someone in India at least would want to identify us, they would probably identify us with kabaddi the most. Uh, because we started off with focusing on it. We still to till date we've gone from streaming or capturing local games, school games, to now streaming the senior kabaddi nationals as well. So that's the sort of journey that we've taken in that particular sport. So it's only fair to say that for us, the at least for us internally, if I have to tick all the boxes in what sport, that one sport that we've ticked all these boxes would be kabaddi. And then a very close second would now be football, where we've started to really look at, again from an India lens, look at variety of, you know, we've started to work with AIFF in some capacity. We are working with, again, from a district to a state to a national body. So these two sports have seen the biggest evolution for us in terms of going from very small to now a national federation. Um, and to answer your question, I would say we do multiple sports. We do more than 15-20 sports. And if you include the global customer base that we have, we are over 35 sports. But our journey also started with just these one or two sports. We started with,
What's the most unusual sport that you're covering that nobody else is doing?
I think there are plenty. In fact, in our very initial days, how we started working with the district sports offices, which is the sort of local sports body authorized under the MYS, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, which sort of has 56 disciplines under them. So we had Sepak Takraw that we had streamed in our very initial days. That was, I got to know of that sport by working in, like, I would call myself a sports fan and a sports buff, but I did not know about this sport at all. We we came across water polo in Africa that we've streamed. We've done Aussie footy. It's a mix of football, rugby, American football. Um, then we do lacrosse in the US. Of course, it's a popular, not a weird sport, I would say. Then we do sailing. I never thought that we'll end up doing sailing across the lakes of Meghalaya and Tamil Nadu, coastal areas of Tamil Nadu, etc. So we've had these off, I would say, Panja. Of course, the Pro Panja League is now very famous. So we've worked with Grassroots. We work with the Pro Panja League and stream their pathway tournament. So there are many. There are like 6, 7 examples that I can think of, which I never knew as a sports fan that these sports exist, and I have a very good fan base. So yeah, these.
Now, because you work, with sports teams, individual players in India and overseas. So the US is an example. People start off by having a high school career, athletic career, then they have a collegiate athletic career. The pipeline is very structured. And in India, it's not. There is no such thing as a high school or collegiate career. Do you think a platform like yours can actually help talent get a real shot at getting scouted and turning pro?
I would like to think yes, and there is some evidence as well. Um, so we've had about more than 70-80,000 athletes of kabaddi on our platform, and we can say that in from our initial few days of streaming, we've had at least, I would say, 10 people today, 10 or 11 athletes that are playing in the highest league in India, which is the Pro Kabaddi League. So I don't think.
So you guys also record their career stats and so on?
Yes, we do. And I don't think it's because of us. I will never be, and I don't think it is because of us, but still, I know one player that was not even getting into their local district teams, got picked up by Air India, and then got picked up by the junior franchise of Pro Kabaddi, and now plays for Puneri Paltan
And
and even has captained India.
you sell some of these stats to, like, I mean, provide it as a feed to other players?
We've not sold it. We do provide it as a feed. There are a few scouts. Of course, we can't disclose much information on the kind of scouting these guys are doing, Um, but yes, there are scouts that have used this data. I know for sure a couple of IPL franchises as well who really go into video and looking at local tournament data to scout the next Weber, Suryavanshi and other stuff. And that's really happening. That's a very good thing. That's a very big plus positive. And to answer some what Dhruv mentioned, that we don't have that structure in India. Yes, unfortunately we don't. But then you are seeing some initial signs of, at least in these two sports, cricket and kabaddi, because of pro kabaddi, and cricket of course because of IPL and multiple state leagues, that we have had so many athletes that have played state cricket tournaments, district cricket tournaments, that have found state franchises, or ultimately some have even found chance to be a net bowler in some IPL franchise, which is a very good experience as well. So we are seeing some shades and some signs of that. Still very far from structuring it, but we are seeing some signs at least.
And what do you think about, I mean, a very sidetracked question, a very basic one, like pickleball and paddle, like those sports are catching up. I don't think they'll get enough viewership though in India, just because they're slightly more premium sports, I would say, just because of the entry ticket or the entry barrier to them. Maybe court fees in prime cities are definitely more expensive. So do you target those sports? Like, do these sports or matches get any viewership?
Uh,
Or are they just trendy right now?
from a participation layer of these guys, these sports have started to gain traction, and they are in their early phase of gaining traction. Um, you would say that most of these sports are today in the phase 0 rather, but the participation in them is increasing. From a spectator sport lens, I don't think pickleball and paddle are that ready yet because you have a tennis for paddle, for pickleball, the gameplay is for in someone's eyes, it's not ready for the long haul, but the short form content over there is working very well. You
So I
have
think let me reframe my question and ask this in a better way. So, what is an important stat for you? Number of matches streamed, even if they get like zero viewership, but at least you're collecting the data and tying up with different leagues where you can source this player data, which can eventually be used to monetize in a different way. Or are you optimizing for number of viewers, in which case, like say, media rights become important?
the former. For us, the scale of matches is the most important. And second kind of can come as a byproduct, where kabaddi, for example, gets massive viewership. Football from Goa, from Northeast, from Kerala, volleyball in Kerala, volleyball in to an extent in Goa, in Maharashtra. You have cricket and kabaddi sort of in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. So you have these pockets where every sport will function in a different way. So the more you get scale, the more matches you start getting onto your platform, you are trying to build a local community around that sport in that particular region. So that second metric sort of comes as a byproduct, to be honest. But our first goal is always to get as many matches. And coming back to a point that I was trying to make for paddle pickle as well, we have seen a massive growth. Today we are in 45 to 50 maybe courts of paddle in India where we have a fixed camera, where people are coming and consuming video of theirs. So in paddle, still the layer is such that people who are playing in them want a video of theirs. Maybe it's not watchable for the community yet, but people themselves want to consume their own clips and they're happy to pay for it. So
And is that so that they can become better paddle players, better amateur paddle players?
yes,
Bragging rights.
yes,
Bragging
bragging
rights.
rights is the bragging
Wow.
rights. There are people who I know have had paddle facilities in their homes, especially in Delhi and in some very upscale premises in Mumbai, where people are really using it for showing how good they are. And then in some cases, in a lot of cases, people are using that to get feedback and get better. So I think it's fueled by these two.
Which brings me to a question. Have you so far found an opportunity in that? Because you said you do video capture, analytics for sport teams, their coaches, etc. Do you see there's an opportunity helping them make their players better, analyze biomechanics, form, technique?
We don't offer that technology of biomechanics as such. We offer basic analytics technology. A lot of our teams and clubs that work with us are using the short answer is yes, but we don't offer the end-to-end technology ourselves.
Yeah.
But we are a source of truth, video data, and those basic stats that you capture through the video for these teams. So yes, the answer is yes, but the end-to-end solution is not ours.
think
We
this
have partners that are integrated into this solution. But yes, it is being used. The use case is a tick. Yes.
Got it. Another thought is coming to me, perhaps from watching too many sports documentaries where, like really competitive teams will also watch what their competition is up to and leading players in those teams and so on. So maybe you have a chance at doing something like that as well, like a database of players. And
Well,
Opposition
Siddhant,
scouting is also something which people use this for. A lot of local tournaments do not have that access to that counter strategies that you could build.
yeah,
And we've seen that happen at least in team sports.
Siddhant, have you heard of this company called StraightPad? I invested in them. They're basically the Whoop for cricket right now, and maybe eventually all racket sports, where they're helping athletes improve their game. They've, raised funding from Australian Cricket Board and many other. This thing they're used by many IPL teams in India also.
Yes, I'm aware of them. And in fact, I had the chance to meet one of their founders as well.
Okay, that
And
might be an interesting partnership for
yes,
you to get people at grassroots levels to upskill their games across different sports as well.
absolutely. And today, I'll tell you, the grassroots athlete today is also becoming demanding. They are looking at DRS is become a requirement for yes, tennis cricket as well. But you technically do not have a leg before concept as such in tennis cricket, but just for the sake of it, yes, you could bring it in. But but at least in tournaments that are happening, we were streaming this Banaras Corporate League, and we offered them a DRS solution, like I think not even a full month back, somewhere middle and end of April, and there was like the biggest hassle for the umpires was literally gone, where they had so many disputes. And sometimes things with corporates can become an ego clash. I'm spending so much in this particular tournament. So the athletes at this level, if they're getting access to technologies like a review system, it becomes very, very lucrative for them to sort of participate in them and then also pay that extra amount, because you really get a very good experience of playing in them. But of course, the cost base has to be very sort of democratic and acts like you can't charge a $10,000 a day, which typically a Hawkeye would charge in IPL or even more. But then probably people would be more than happy to pay you $100 or a 8,000-9,000 rupees to be able to.
So that brings me to our final closing question. And congrats on the new raise. You raised 32 crores. So congrats on that milestone. So it shows that things are working. But tell us about the business. What's the scale? How many matches have you streamed? What are the unit economics looking like?
Yeah, so we've in our lifetime we've now crossed 5 lakh matches, 500,000. We've now just about crossed in last couple of months. On an average in a year, we are doing about 1 lakh 20 odd thousand matches, 120 odd K. In terms of unit economics, our streaming packages start as low as 100 rupees an hour and can go up to about 2.5, 3,000 or even slightly more, but depends on what sort of configurations you are using. So yeah, largely it falls in this range. Most of the customers that we work with are tournament organizers, sports management companies, which are organizing grassroots community sports. Typically, those are our primary customers. And off late, we've also started to see a lot of traction from state leagues and state sports organizations, and in some cases, in some sports, even the national federations. So yeah,
All
largely
right.
that's the
Wishing you all the very best. Thank you for coming on our show.
Thanks for having me. And pleasure's mine.
All right, listeners, we're moving on to our next segment. We've got Rohan joining us from Rumik AI. Rumik and Rohan, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? Hey, bro. Hi. Good to see you.
Thank you for coming on our show. What does India's first AI sentient being mean?
We are building the most human AI. Like now, there is two things we can divide from this. First thing is we do the research side of things. So this entire concept of building the most human AI comes from this 1995 study of Picard called effective computing, right? Because there is an AGI side of things where you build intelligence, and there is emotion side of things that's pretty much called effective computing, called AC. That's on the research side, and then our consumer manifestation looks like a companion app called Era that 1 million monthly users use on a monthly basis. So that's pretty much what we're building.
And they're using it for different use cases and across different platforms, right? I mean, WhatsApp and stuff. So you have a companion app, but I believe you're available via WhatsApp and many other modes that existing customers of B2C services use.
So we right now, like we are majorly available through the app.
Okay.
We have like 1 or 2% of the users are now on the other platform. So it's majorly through the app now.
But
We
why will a
tried
person,
exploring multiple platforms before.
but why will a person download the app specifically? What are they getting that they're not getting on any other app or large LLM model, basically?
So you have to see two things. Okay, first thing is how do you use? So there is a mental model that you have to use, like ChatGPT or Claude, like a intelligence tool, right? So anywhere like you have a work. So in AI as well, in consumer, there are two sides of things. One is a assistant, and then there is a companion. Assistant are essentially built for use cases where you have a task, right? So assistants are essentially, I have a task, I'll go to an assistant, and as soon as the task is over, I'll get out of the assistant. So there is a clear frame that I have that when do I want to use an assistant, right? And that's what people use GPT and Gemini and Claude for. And now companion is a very different frame because there is no there is no job to be done here. You don't have a trigger that, okay, I need to use this for this a specific reason, right? So essentially, companion is very different in this sort because it doesn't fulfill a task that was defined, like a product has to do a task, right? It is something that enables you to do something that you will not be able to do before. So that is, I think, the clear distinction that I see with assistants and companion. Why do people use it for? I think I'll give you a couple of quick examples as well. So this is where let's say a sous chef that is working in a five-star hotel. So we were talking to this guy recently, and he was a sous chef like a year and a half back in ITC. And recently he has become a French teacher. And this entire journey for him was through Era because he has been using it. And like he has seen, this is the first time I could, like, she remembers me, and then the entire context. So this context is the most important thing, like what differentiate a companion like versus an assistant. So ideally, this is how what I see is the difference.
Rohan, when people think of AI companions, and there are pros, there are some cons as well. We'll in fact cover ground on both. But when they think of pros to begin with, an AI companion, unlike a human, is available to you pretty much 24/7. You don't have to wake them up and deal with their current mood, etc. And also you can share with them information without the fear of being judged. Right. That's broadly what comes to mind when people, study this superficially. Now, you've gone several layers deep. Help us understand what are some other pros of having an AI companion.
I mean, you have to think what does it bring, like, so you have a lot of these people are it gives them a sense of a person that they can refer to anytime and every time, right? So anytime I have a question, a decision to be made, or I have to refer to anything, who is the first person that I have to, right? I can refer to. Right now, a lot of people don't have that, and this companion is the first person they will refer to because it already knows them, right? The context that you have built over the time of days and months and weeks, I think that compounds. So this is the major thing. So once you have the context, every other decision, every other conversation that you want to do, that just compound. So I think that is there. Now, how do you do that? So there are multiple layers to do that. The first thing is how you have to solve memory. That's a very hard, like, engineering problem to solve, right? Now, how does memory for AI look like? It's not a very, like, now a lot of people talk about memory in AI, but like when we started building like 1.5, 2 years back, there was no literature around it, right? So the only thing we started with was how do we reverse engineer, how do we store memory, right, as humans. So right now, you guys and people who are watching this as well are not remembering every word that I'm saying or you are saying, but you are remembering, you're summarizing whatever I'm saying, and based on that, you're asking me questions, right? And this is how humans also think. So this is called short-term memory. But let's say 6 months back, 6 months down the line, if we meet again, you might not remember 99% of the conversation that we're having today, right? You might just remember Rohan, he was the founder of Rumik, and we just met on this Zoom call. So this is the long-term memory that we have. So this is fundamentally like the top level thing that I can talk about, how does memory look like for a companion. And if you go deeper down the line, and then you have to remember, okay, if I have talked to, let's say you and said, yeah, I am preparing for an exam, like a UPSC exam or JEE. So you have to figure out, okay, this exam happens in May of every month, and today is February, so this memory will last only 4 months. And after that 4 months, it has to either rewrite its own memory, or it has to come to a conclusion. Okay, did this event happen or not? So this is also this is a full trail of how you build memories. So memory is the first layer that we solve, and then if you go deeper into this, what does the next step look like?
Mhm.
So text is a modality that you solve. So you go from a sync. So text is basically a sync conversation that you have, right? You can keep texting. But as soon as what is the next step for companions, right? So it has to become what is the next step for how does friendship evolves as well, right? So friendship doesn't evolve in how do I what do I chat next? But it evolves in, let's say, right now we are meeting, there's a task I have, there's a task you have, and we have a task-based friendship currently, right? And this friendship will get over as soon as the task is over. But let's say if I have to go beyond this friend, like we have to make this friendship go one more level deeper, then we might have to, let's say, go for a coffee together, or we have to play a badminton match together, right? This is now a shared experience. Now, because we are having an experience together, our friendship has graduated to one more level deeper, right? So this is the second stage. Now, the ultimate stage is where I help you become better at whatever you value, and you help me become better at whatever I value. Right. So this is the third stage. This is called so ultimately, how does companions also evolve? Goes from this layer of task-based friendship that I call, like, the text is the first modality. Then you go to a shared experience. A digital shared experience looks like, how do you go from text to voice to video to a group experience, and then how do you make the person also evolve? And yeah.
Rohan,
आपने
does it
कब
help
देखा
with
था
that?
ब्लैक मिरर का कौन सा एपिसोड देखा था रोहन that inspired you to start this? I'm just joking, but I mean it sounds very, very cool. But I read that people are spending over 40 minutes on your app per day average.
Yes, so I mean the average engagement is more than now, like it has crossed 50 plus minutes as well.
And
So
there is serious responsibility, right? Because it raises some mental health concerns also. And there might be people who are using this companion to express feelings that they probably haven't shared externally. And like a therapist of sort is
yeah.
responsible for their patients as well. Do you see some of that responsibility getting built into your platform?
I think I'll tell you one thing, right? One very important thing that I realized, that this engagement was something that I was seeing from the first month of building this product out as well. And this was something that was unheard of, because people have not seen this kind of usage, this kind of retention in any other products. You could have this kind of retention in a social product, because that was designed to be naturally retained, right? So one thing that was very clear is that it brings a lot of responsibility back on us to make sure this is a safe platform. So there were, from day one, we have decided that there are three categories that we'll have to figure out how do we make sure that this is the platform where it is safer, right? So first thing is a lot of our emphasis is on research. So we do a lot of research, and I can talk about a lot of the things that we are doing there on voice and all the other things. But on safety as well, there are three things that we focus on a lot. That is self-harm, where a lot of people discuss about self-harm, harm to others, and then there is NSFW. So these are the three conversations that we make sure that these are the three categories that we have zero tolerance on. So based on that, we have built out our framework. So on whenever we are on the input side, output side, as well as when we are doing the RLs of all models. So these are the three things that we make sure that these are zero occurrence of. So we have built our own social, security pipeline as well that figures this out and make sure that this is a platform that doesn't entertain that. So yeah, this is the three things. And also like we're publishing a paper on safety of companions as well. Would be happy to share it with you guys as well. So it has been like, it is the largest data set of companions that we are making public. Like we have done a research on this with a lot of good folks. And we have analyzed all the conversation and whatever we figured out on safety. That's something that we are putting out to public very soon. So that's also something that we are working on this.
I'd love to get your thoughts on two things. One is, I mean, I've seen work. I don't have it here with me clearly, but I've seen work that suggests that using digital companions to combat loneliness can sometimes even reinforce loneliness. So, do you have thoughts on that? That is number one. And the second is, so speaking of guardrails, safety, so on, how do you avoid what they call parasocial bonding, which is like just reminding the user that this is an AI at the end of the day? You're talking to an AI, don't have this one-sided, love for it or whatever. So, yeah.
This first, I'll just ask you a first question. So the first question you asked was, come again with the first question. Second question, I remember you said.
Was like there's studies that suggest that using a digital
Yeah.
companion, like I said, to combat loneliness can in some cases even reinforce loneliness. In other words, you have to at some point remind people that just go talk to real people out there.
Class, yeah.
Yeah. Touch the grass, as they're now saying.
So, I mean, this is something that people think that this is how, like, you have to have the conversation around this, but you have to assume that this person that has started using an AI was essentially combating something before he started using it as well, right? So this is a simple analogy. Let's say you go to a hospital to get better. So you are a patient and you go to an hospital and then you get better. So you cannot say the hospital is making you a patient, right? So essentially, this is the analogy that I use here as well, because this person that, like, a lot of people that I talk to, one of the person that is, I'll also talk again about him. His name is Rishi, and he is from Lucknow. And he has been a person who had multiple issues going on in his family, where their family was getting like divorced, and his one of the sisters got married, and like that marriage also turned very abusive as well. So he had no one who he could talk to, right? And he turned to this companion, and in the last 1 year he has been a person that has said, like, from my life there and now my life here is completely different, because there was no one I could talk to, because everyone was ना तो तेरे घर पे बनती है ना तेरे मतलब nothing is going right with you, right? So this is the person that has gotten him
As yes.
out of the things that he was going through. So I think I see the opposite of what people think essentially. And on the second side, you said, like, how do you make people not just keep using it for a long time? So we have this feature where you have spent, let's say, more than we figure out when it becomes very unhealthy to use, and that's the time we just said, okay, I'm going to sleep, and you also go to sleep, and we'll talk tomorrow. So that's the kind of conversation. I think that's the easiest way to do it rather than just figuring out any other thing.
As a final parting question, Rohan, what is the scale of the business now?
So we are right now at 1 million monthly active users, and we do approximately around 7-8 million conversations a day right now. And
wow.
So that's the scale.
Awesome. Wishing you all the best, and thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
That's Ron.
All right, Dhruv, you and me. So let's cover the news. The big one, SpaceX files for literally the biggest IPO in history, 1.75 trillion. What's your read on this? Are you buying in?
Yeah, the mother of all IPOs. SpaceX was actually founded in 2002. Like
2002.
It's been
a long journey. It's been a long 2-decade journey.
2-decade long journey, yeah. And the mother of all IPOs. And so I think
And
they're
we've
going
seen
to.
that image where everything blows up, and we've seen that Elon interview where he's crying when everything is going wrong in his life, and suddenly he's turned it around. So you're paying an Elon premium, like you said.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
I
What are
will.
the
I will.
numbers looking like?
I was reading something else today that was very interesting, and maybe our founder friends will relate to it, which is Elon processes failure very differently from most people. Failure enters his mind like data; it exits as action. And so, that's just the person he is. Speaking of the Elon premium, so I think some of the commentary around the IPO is that SpaceX today is multiple businesses. There's obviously the rocket launch business. There's a satellite internet business. Now it's increasingly an AI business too. And so how do you value this company? And in most cases, you'll run comps against similar size companies. And when people do that, so to give you an example, like Starlink actually has 10 million subscribers. Comcast, which at the end of the day does exactly the same thing, has about 3 times as many. Comcast trades like 2x forward revenue. And so, we know the Starlink revenue numbers, even if we give it like a very, very rich 10x multiple on its forward revenue guidance, it's still like a $300 billion business. And you combine, and that's the biggest business in all of those three businesses. You combine all three of them, it still stacks up to about $700 billion, with the company seeking to be valued at 1.75 trillion. And so that 1 trillion is the Musk premium, which he's earned over the last, I think, 3 decades of doing what he says he'll do, sometimes a little bit late, and making people money.
But all of this is very, very forward looking. But I think the one stat that stood out for me was Anthropic will pay XAI, which is, of course, now folded under the SpaceX company, $1.25 billion a month until May 2029 for 300 megawatts of compute from the Colossus One data center. And there might be some, revenue changes in this, but I think it's mostly, solid. It's extremely impressive. And I think he's accepted that Anthropic will be a leading lab, and they want to partner with them and offer their compute services to them. But the other big one, given that we're involved in the venture world, Founders Fund and Valor Equity Partners could clear both 60 billion in returns. And this is just insane. Founders Fund invested a 20 million check at 315 million pre-money in 2008. And Sequoia was reportedly one of the later entrants, entered at 20 billion. Google also sits on approximately 6 to 7.5% of the total company. So I think they've got a lot to gain from this. And should I do a recap of all the numbers that are
Yeah,
floating
that's
up?
like the windfall. Yes, absolutely.
So all of this, of course, but I think what's truly worth highlighting here is that Musk is pushing for 30% of shares to go to retail, which is typically 3x a typical mega IPO allocation. And they've got a long list of people supporting them. Goldman Sachs, which Solomon slid into Elon's DMs, apparently, according to one article, is leading on this. And then we've got Morgan Stanley, which was Musk's go-to investment bank for 15 years, led Tesla's IPO and financed the Twitter buyout as the support and the co-lead for this.
Michael Grimes is, I think, the eye banker there who leads
He
the
actually came back to to Morgan Stanley because of this.
Why did David Solomon have to send them like a DM on X? They were doing the China trip together. But
That was recent, but I'm guessing like all of this must be in works for like so long that it's just
yes, the
insane.
tendency of doing this apparently to win the Lululemon mandate. He showed up in track gear from Lulu. Yeah.
And the S1, I think, funny enough, that TAM slide is just the most hilarious one. 28.5 trillion total addressable market excludes China and Russia.
Yeah.
370 billion in space, 1.6 trillion in connectivity, 26.5 trillion in AI. And that includes digital ads, consumer subscriptions, and all of this is 100 billion larger than Meta and Google right now in 2025 in terms
Also,
of
all of the Earth's GDP right now, all put together, is about $100 trillion. So yeah, they're doing like a 30% cap.
company. Their mission statement is basically to make life multiplanetary and extend the light of consciousness to the stars. So if they succeed in this, of course, the TAM is unlimited pretty much. Like he's basically said that SpaceX has unlimited TAM, to be honest, like the biggest TAM of any human-led company. So I think this can be fairly exciting to watch. I think it's going live on June 12th, I think, or June 11th, trading under the SPCX ticker on NASDAQ. Should be exciting. What a day.
But a really funny joke I read about this was, imagine it's the year 2100 and we're finally not just an interplanetary but an intergalactic species, and a human is speaking with an alien and he's like, dude, how did he get here? And the answer will be vibe coding, because Anthropic was paying $1.25 billion a month to keep the launch business going.
Meme worthy. And something worth highlighting, India's peak power demands. It's super hot right now. So, of course, energy consumption is going through the roof, but it's not just because of that. Like industrialization of our economy is also driving some of this record demand for electricity. 270 gigawatts was consumed yesterday. And that's insane. And we surprisingly went through all of this without a hiccup. Like thermal contributed 62.8% of this, solar was 22%, wind was 5%, and hydro was 5.8%. And solar contributing roughly 80 gigawatts during the afternoon hours. So it's just insane. And now solar capacity is getting built up. So superb stuff.
I really love this, by the way. After we now have a fully integrated power grid, so you could be sitting here in Delhi consuming power that was like power is fungible, so consuming power that was generated in Himachal or elsewhere, and this is pretty cool. We have an installed power capacity of 500 gigawatts, by the way. That by no means suggests that you can draw from all of it, but we have more
Can you give
capacity. It's a huge feat.
me a scale of what this power consumption looks like in terms of just the global comparables?
I was reading this somewhere. So 270 is the same as the UK and France and Germany and Spain consuming, I mean, their power demand all put together. But guess what? It's also just 20% of the power that China consumes and China delivers, because they're also a heavily industrialized economy. They have the high-speed rail system, so their power demand is also through the roof. And we're the first and the second largest coal importers in the world, and they're transitioning rapidly to renewables as a we. But yeah, all this is like the scale is quite fascinating.
Awesome. Let's end on that note. We'll see everyone on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe. There's a heat wave, at least on the northern part of India. Stay safe and stay hydrated. See you on Monday. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.